everyone, welcome to the conversation here on the Young Turks. I'm your sometimes host, Francesca Fiorentini. What is up? It is around Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone is safe and happy and healthy. Okay, just mostly healthy. What is happiness in the year 2020? I don't know, but my first guest is gonna help us find a little bit of it. She is the co-creator of The Daily Show, the founder of the reproductive rights action organization called Abortion AF. And she's got a new stand-up special. Did I mention she was a comic called Corona Borealis that she filmed all in quarantine? Please welcome Liz Winstead.
Hey.
What's going on, Liz?
Just here with you, hanging out, just doing it like everyone, figuring out how to make isolation great again.
Absolutely, except Zoom stand-up shows was not good enough for you in the year 2020, and you decided to film a special.
I did.
Tell me about it.
I'm somebody who responds to the world. It's what I do. And I grew up in Minneapolis and I live in Brooklyn, both. And so being quarantined in New York City in the height of the pandemic, and then watching my city burn because of the murder of George Floyd, and it wasn't even because of the murder of George Floyd, it was because of so much of police brutality and violence. And the latest was George Floyd.
Yeah.
And then this election we were having, I was like, I need to respond to this. And so I came back to Minnesota and I decided to do a show where it was shot in two parts. The first part was 20 people in kayaks in water, and I'm on the shore of a lake. Totally socially distanced, just a crew of 10 people. We all built the set. We all designed the set. I made food for the audience, these special individual meals where I baked and cooked. And then people got in these kayaks. And then I couldn't do a show about 2020 without having the election. So I had 18 people around 6 fire pits in a 19-degree evening a week ago. And I finished out my show in this wooded setting. And sort of did this 3-quarter wrap up of the world and kind of examined COVID, what that felt like for me, what I was doing, sort of systemic racism, examining sort of my own white privilege and how I played a role in that. And then just breaking down the election and what it feels like to vote for somebody who is better than the person in office, but then realizing that now our work is to hold them accountable. And so I took it all together and I barfed it out in this crazy DIY show.
That's incredible. And the images I watched the trailer, it looks excellent. It's Liz, like she said, to a bunch of kayaks, giving jokes, saying jokes to a bunch of kayaks, and then also around a fire. So just so Minnesota. The most Minnesota, I think, imaginable. And also apparently you offered free booze, which is how you lured everyone to your show.
That's how you lure Minnesotans in for everything. And also the thing that was hilarious though, Franny, and you'll really appreciate this as a comic, when you're doing things like this, so we were outside the whole time to be distanced. There was never any going in. Everything was outside, everybody was apart.
You chucked people beers from shore.
We had things set up. We actually had people bring care packages out to their vehicles, and then they came in with a bag of stuff. But here's what's nuts. So we had everything on generators, so you're panicking the whole time. So my whole thing that I focused mostly on was, let's make sure the lighting stays on, that we can see. What didn't occur to me was the entire time you're performing a show out in the woods, your natural sound is crickets. So if your jokes don't land at all, we had to edit out crickets because it sounded like a joke. It was unbelievable.
You're like, did we mic the crickets? Is that what happened?
It felt like it was a cartoon. It was like a cartoon.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I think is so important. And by the way, Liz's special is on Vimeo, $3.99, super accessible, and you can watch it again all about the election before and after, but it's so important because comics don't have shows and places to perform anymore. And so we are struggling, and this is a great way to support obviously Liz's comedy, but also just the broader, stand-up realm beyond Netflix. Let's be real, because they get enough. They have enough money. It doesn't.
They have enough money. They have also, comics go there and do their thing, and they're in a big, fancy schmancy thing with a whole bunch of audience. And so this is very, very intimate, very raw. I use notes, I stumble, but it's also, there's
very 2020
specials that can respond to the world so quickly and get up, and that's why you have to self-produce, so that you don't have to deal with network notes. I put it out there, I'll take it. I'm gonna get so many haters, and I'm fine with that. I'm good. I run an abortion rights organization. I already know what a hater feels like.
Liz Winstead, someone who has never been afraid of haters, never let them keep her work down. And part of that work obviously is continuing being at the helm of Abortion AF, which is, I think, in and of itself, such a groundbreaking organization because of the way that you tackle reproductive rights with a lot of levity and humor and honest personability, if I can even say that. Why do you feel like Abortion AF does that? Like, why create a reproductive rights organization that isn't afraid of comedy and mocking the other side?
I think, for me, the main thing is, so for the years that we've talked about abortion, we've talked about it using the narrative of anti-abortion extremists and activists. And I believe that abortion is normal. I believe that abortion is a part of healthcare. And I don't believe abortion is any of the things they say it is. So why can't I use humor when it comes to making fun of the people who are hell-bent on destroying bodily autonomy for people? Just like any other orc who is out there, who is just feeding off misogyny like a host, they need to be taken down. And the best way I know how to take people down and to call out garbage is to do it through humor.
Yeah. I believe you once said to me in an interview that it was very difficult to mock Trump. I mean, it's easy to make fun of him, but almost like not rewarding because he is a walking satire himself. And that look at him, look, this is the entire administration. Now that he maybe will be gone soon, still fingers crossed. What are you looking forward to in a Biden administration, and specifically from the right, from beyond comedy, but from reproductive rights? What needs to be on the forefront, do you think, when it comes to reproductive justice in this Democratic administration?
Well, I think that there's two things that need to happen. We need to raise the Medicaid reimbursement rate so that we can end the Hyde Amendment. Yes. That's going to be the number one thing, so that poor people, people of color, people who need to access abortion care, and who don't have jillions of dollars or insurance or are using, Medicaid, can pay for their care. I think that's crucial because right now abortion is not a pocket expense, and a lot of people don't have that. And if you can't afford to terminate a pregnancy, makes it really hard to afford to raise children, right? So those things are inextricably linked. I think just having them talk about abortion and talk about reproductive justice, and also just saying to people, let's start honoring all pregnancy outcomes, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is poor and is pregnant and wants to have a kid, we should have programs in place for them to be able to do that so that they can have a healthy family. And if somebody is poor and pregnant, or not even poor, let's say poor out of it, just pregnant and says, it is not within my capabilities to raise another child or have a child, let's honor that, right? So I think honoring all pregnancy outcomes is a really good path and a really good thing that we should all be talking about.
It's always striking to me that people hate Planned Parenthood so much when the name is literally Planned Parenthood.
But politicians hate a plan.
Right, exactly.
For the most part.
Especially Republicans, no plan, just destruction. No, I love the way that you say that. honoring all pregnancy outcomes and just how much reproductive justice is about that, is about supporting parenthood if one wants it and chooses it. I guess
and to create healthy environments to raise a kid, right? That means they should be able to walk down the street and not be harassed or killed by police. That means that they should be in a neighborhood where there is healthy food, healthy grocery stores. They are not living in an environmental disaster of a neighborhood. They can access drugstores and prescriptions and have diagnoses for all the things they need. It just large justice for the greater environment for which we all live.
I want to ask you a question about healthcare. Obviously reproductive rights are all integrally, and what you're talking about is integrally about healthcare. And yet I think for so long, the fight for reproductive rights and the fight for sort of expanding healthcare have been siloed in a way that maybe is not helpful going forward. Like link those two, and let's say if there was broad sweeping reform, there's a Medicare expansion, right? There is a Medicare for all potentially if we can push the Biden administration, or a public option if he actually makes good on that. What does that then mean for something like reproductive justice?
Well, and that's what the real test is going to be, is that so often we have had access to abortion and even access to birth control to a certain degree. You'll have to remember we had to fight really hard for certain types of birth control to even be in the ACA, right?
Right.
And that wasn't from Republicans. That was anti-abortion Democrats fighting that, right? So having a D next to your name doesn't mean that. But unless you say to someone, we will provide healthcare for you for all of your healthcare needs, and you don't start siphoning off what that means, there's not one piece of medical healthcare things that somebody who doesn't have a uterus would need that was taken out of, siloed off of, told it was a wedge issue because it doesn't exist. It's only things that happen to women and people with uteruses. And so we have to say, if you say you care for human rights and Medicare for all, that means all of the healthcare needs that people need. And part of that all should be abortion, full stop.
Right. Absolutely, and that's why we have the Hyde Amendment and that fight. Well, there's so much more to talk about. Liz, your special Corona Borealis is gonna help us through it. I know, I'm excited because it's I feel like it's a bow on this, this crap year. I can't say what I wanted to say there.
I know. Crap year is the way to say it. That's the nice way to say it. The crap year.
But please be so well. Have a good end of your year, and we'll talk very, very soon, I'm sure, about the next chapter in this fight.
Oh, there's going to be many more things to talk about. We've just gotten to the starting line. That's where we're at.
No, I need a break. Okay, Liz Winstead, everybody. Watch her special on Vimeo, Corona Borealis, and follow Abortion AF for all their latest. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fran.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.